Hare Krishna. Resist the temptation of confusion. Sometimes things happen in such a way that we become bewildered, perplexed, confused. We just can't figure out what should I do. And at that time, it is easy because of the confusion to get paralyzed. And I don't know, should I do this or should I do that? Should I do this or should I do that? And in the end, in paralysis, we don't do anything. And because of not doing either thing, because not doing anything at all, we often make the situation worse and make our own mentality also more depressed, more confused, more indecisive, and get ourselves more into trouble by that, externally and internally. And this can happen even to devotees. For example, say when devotees have to say, choose which ashram should I belong. Should I become a grahastha or should I become a brahmachari? Now this confusion can consume one's consciousness, and by that the person is just not able to move forward. And this or that, this or that, this or that. The mind just keeps going on flip-flop, 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 not being able to decide. And because of that confusion, one becomes disenthused in one's practice of bhakti, disenthused in one's various responsibilities, and one often falls to temptation and wrongdoing because of that whole confusion. So it is not that later one falls to temptation. We need to recognize that confusion itself is a temptation, because at one level, anything that takes our thoughts, takes our consciousness away from Krishna, that is a temptation. So lust, anger, greed, these are well-known, relatively grosser forms of temptations. But confusion, which is actually a manifestation of the sixth anartha, that is illusion. So that is also a temptation. And when there is confusion, at that time, we essentially, because of not knowing what to do, we end up not trying to serve Krishna also. And by not trying to serve Krishna, we become disconnected from him, and thus we go deeper into illusion and temptation. So Arjuna also faced actually a far more consequential decision and confusion about that decision than what most of us might face. Arjuna had to decide whether to fight a war or not. And fighting a war would mean killing not just thousands of soldiers, but even his venerable elders. And he was totally confused about what he should do. In 2.6 he states, Na Chaitad vidmah kataranno gariyo yadva jayeme divano jayeyu yane vahatva na jiji vishamas te avastita ashtraha. So he says that Na Chaitad vidmah kataranno gariyo. Na Chaitad vidmah, I do not know, kataranno gariyo, which is better. Yadva jayema, that either I conquer over them, yadiva jayeyu, or they conquer over me. Even if I conquer over them, normally that's what any person who goes to a war wants, that I want to win the war. I want to defeat my enemies. And now why would there be any confusion whether I should win or whether I should lose? It's obvious, you should win, somebody might say. But Arjuna says no. That what is normally the right thing is I should win. Here it's not like that. Yaneva hatva na jiji vishamas. That by those whom if I killed, I would not want to live myself. Te avastita pramukhe dhatarashtra. They are situated in front of me. Pramukhe dhatarashtra. So what should I do? I do not know Krishna. And thinking thus, Arjuna becomes confused. Arjuna becomes lost. So what we need to understand is that we as devotees can learn from Arjuna's example. Arjuna was having a crippling confusion, but rather than just giving to the confusion and doing nothing, he did the best thing. He turned towards Krishna, as is described in the next verse. In the next verse he says, Karpanya dosho pahata svabhava pruchhami tvam dharma sammudha chetaha yashreyasya nishchitam brohi tanme shishyaste ham shadimam tvam prapannam. Karpanya dosho pahata svabhava, that I am overcome by miserly weakness. Pruchhami tvam dharma sammudha chetaha. Pruchhami, Therefore, Arjuna Krishna said, I ask you, Arjuna Krishna, please tell me, because of my Chaitanya, my consciousness is bewildered, you tell me what is the right thing to do. Shishyasteham shadhimam tvam prapannam. I surrender to you and I accept myself as your disciple. I become your disciple. Please instruct me. Shadhi, instruct me. So essentially, Arjuna is turning towards Krishna. And that is an opportunity all of us have. Now, when there is confusion about what to do, there is always one thing which we can always do. We can turn towards Krishna. We can seek shelter of Him in the way by which we can best experience His shelter. By remembering Him, by chanting His holy names, by praying to Him, by singing kirtans. We can solidify our Krishna connection and thereby we can get our conception clarified. Once we connect with Krishna, Tadami Buddhi Yogam Tam, in due time, Krishna will give us the intelligence by which we can move onwards towards Him and we can attain Him. We can get from Him the guidance by which the confusion can be overcome. So, even if we are confused about what specific thing to do externally, we should never be so confused as to not do the right thing internally. But the one thing about which there should not be any confusion is that let me take shelter of Krishna. And by not giving into the temptation of confusion, we can maintain our connection with Krishna and through that connection get the illumination to move onwards towards Him, making the right decision eventually. Thank you. Hare Krishna.